What's up everybody, this is Ven bringing you another MOC Spotlight, where we take apart what you build. For today's episode, we'll be going over the Bohrok Buster, created and posted to our message boards by thefallenfell. Now before we get started, let me review my method of reviewing, which involves a point system that is based on 3 fundamental attributes: the overall appearance of the MOC, the build of the MOC itself, and the concept and ideas behind the MOC's creation. Each quality will mount up to 5 points, leading up to a final score that will be determined at the end of the episode. And please remember that this is all based on my opinion, so let's get this started. Jeez, there's a lot going on here. I mean, first of all, this is a pretty unique figure we have here. Not too often we get exosuit type MOCs, you know, and with such an impressive size too. I mean, this thing looks huge. It's all big and bulky, and definitely something to give you a run for your money, or however that saying goes. And for something this big and bulky, it's also got some pretty proper proportions. PPP. It's bulky where it should be, everywhere. Gotta keep it nice and consistent, and it works. The colors aren't anything all too crazy, but they look pretty good together. You got all this yellow and black and little bits of silver in there, which doesn't look half bad. And I do think that I could use a little bit more black just to kind of balance it out a little bit in just some areas. But overall, it's pretty good. Really gotta wonder how this guy managed to acquire so many yellow parts. I mean, geez, it's like overwhelming. And it also goes without saying that this MOC has a buttload of detail. Like all throughout, you can find a bunch of mechanical aesthetics and whatnot. But what really grabbed my attention was just the detailing in the cockpit area, where it looks like the pilot of the mech would actually have a pretty good heads-up display, accompanied by a couple of, like, I don't know, control panel things. Very intuitive. Now, I do gotta say that some of the detailing on this MOC actually kind of does bug me. It looks as though there's a lot of clashing textures, and in that regard, nothing is all that consistent. Like, there are some smooth areas, there are some rough areas, there are some areas with a little bit of both, and it's kind of a little bit all over the place. And the Bohrok shields on the front, these really bug me. I wish you had just stuck with one type of Bohrok shield instead of tried to use these two that look completely different from each other aesthetically. I actually kind of think this whole upper body looks pretty messy. Nothing too terrible, but it's like, man, there's like all these cables going all over the place. It doesn't help, really, that there's so many of them that just kind of stick out of place. Some not really looking all too practical. I mean, why would you want your exosuit to be so exposed? Like, do you want to get killed? Does Nuparo here have a death wish? And then the saw on the right arm of the mech, well, it's a cool idea. I don't think this looks all too great either. It looks like it was just kind of slapped on there. You know, it looks really tacky. But hey, you know, despite all this, at least Nuparo looks like he's seated here quite nicely. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at him real quick. Look at that. Fairly basic, simple design, but I guess, you know, it works. It does its job. It's not the focus of the MOC, but it's just pretty cool to see how well it fits in the actual mech. It's like seamless, dude. It's crazy. It's pretty good. Almost as good as this build. Like, holy crap. This build is intricate as all heck. I mean, say what you want about how it looks, but this MOC definitely had some thought put into its build. I mean, for starters, it's really solid and well balanced. Like, the legs are appropriately thick and kind of stiff looking. They look to do a great job of keeping this big freaking whatever the heck kind of mech standing up without issue. You know, I can definitely see that all these Technic parts are put to great use. And you know, keeping all that in mind, somehow this MOC is still articulated. Like, we have range of movement in the shoulders, moving in and out. The elbows, hips, and knees all move on ratchet joints, some a lot stronger than others. The feet slightly move, but that's just to keep the MOC stabilized in different poses, because otherwise they are pretty restricted. And the claw over here on the right arm is articulated with ball joints. The shoulder or back mounted minigun is on a ball joint, so that can like spin around and do all sorts of stuff too. And it's impressive stuff, man. It's like, imagine if Dwayne Johnson took yoga classes. It'd be crazy, right? Like something that big and bulky somehow being able to touch his toes to his head. Okay, maybe not to that degree, because this MOC actually is a little bit limited in its range of movement, but just to see such a variety of points of articulation is really impressive, especially considering what was put into this MOC, such as these electronics. That's right, folks, this MOC has gone to the future. It is the epitome of the future. It has built-in electronic features. making for a whole lot of functionality. We got a rotating minigun, a rotating drill, a spinning buzzsaw that does look a little tacky, but hey, that's a cool feature anyway. And I'd say that these are all pretty well integrated into the MOC, and it makes it really interesting just to see how they were integrated. Because personally, I've never worked with like Mindstorm stuff or whatever, but just to see it in conjunction with like a Bionicle type of build, and yeah, no, this is some intriguing stuff, man. Good job. And then speaking of play features, how could we forget the ability to remove a smaller figure from the overall MOC? You can just take Nuparu out whenever you want and put him back in. I mean, that's cool. That's a fun thing to do. You know, role playing. We all do it to some degree. Some higher degrees than others. And now what's really interesting about this MOC and builder going about building it is that it was originally imagined as a mech built out of construction equipment. Eventually it evolved into this larger, more formidable version of the Boxer, or Boxer, however you wish to pronounce it. And you know, those familiar with Bionicle lore will already know that the Boxer was this small mech suit invented by Nuparu here to be used in self-defense against the Bohrok hordes. And well, this MOC basically is supposed to serve the same purpose. And I mean, look at that. It definitely looks more than capable of dishing out some wild Bohrok. Heck, it looks ready to take on hordes. Maybe even the Bayrag, you know, the Bohrok queens. Probably take them on too. And, well, maybe after a little bit more cleaning up. Because, you know, with all these loose cables all over the place, I'd imagine that, you know, all a Bohrok would have to do is just get behind it and then do its thing. But all in all, I'd say that the MOC was put together quite well, and that the goal was achieved of creating some sort of worthy successor to the Boxer, especially with those functions. Because, you know, with the original Boxer set, it did also have a function, but it was kind of a lame function when you really get down to it. I mean, you just kind of make it dance a little bit and it'll do this little punching mechanism. I mean, it was cool, it's cool, but in comparison to what this MOC has to offer, a little bit lame. Now imagine if this MOC had the same type of feature where you just kind of made it dance a little bit and then like shot nukes into the air. Now that'd be pretty cool. And so that's as far in depth as I'm gonna go. I think we should go ahead and wrap up this video now, shall we? In terms of appearance, this MOC receives a 3 out of 5. There are a lot of really cool aspects to this MOC, and you know, it's definitely not bad, but it definitely does have some bad aspects to it that kind of weigh it down a good bit for me. Like, there's definitely a really cool design in there, but it's kind of covered up by a lot of flaws that I definitely would like to have seen done differently. However, in terms of the build, which I'd agree, a 5 out of 5, man, this MOC, like the construction and everything that was put into it is just so freaking cool. And I don't think a little bit of restriction and articulation is going to take that away, not even in the slightest, because there's just too much to make up for it. And in terms of the concept, I give this MOC a 4 out of 5. Because I definitely think that the builder had some good ideas that were really well executed, and all this MOC needs really is just a bit of polishing to get it to look better. And not only do these aspects hinder its appearance a little bit, but I also feel like it hinders its practicality. Like I said, with the exposed cables, how can you really go out into battle with your belly button hanging out? Like, you just can't do that. And so, with all that said, we are left with the final score, and that final score adds up to a 12 out of 15. A lot of hits, couple of misses, but overall, pretty great job. Congrats for making it onto the MOC Spotlight, The Fallen Fell. I do hope to see more out of you, and I do hope to see something out of you viewers as well, so please post to our message boards at board.ttvchannel.com, where you are free to post your own MOCs under the LEGO Creations category for a chance to possibly be featured on a future MOC Spotlight. And all you gotta do is just be creative with it, because that's mainly what I look for in these MOCs. It's just how much creativity goes into them. So take that into consideration. Please do your part, and I'll try to do mine. And if not, then hey, it's okay, whatever. Thank you all for watching anyway, and I'll see you all next time.